We're live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India News, India's Voice to the World. I'm Lipakshi Kurana. Coming up in the next hour, Ukraine and Russia to hold separate talks with US officials in Saudi Arabia on Monday. Separate meetings to be held at the same time as diplomatic push to seek a ceasefire gains momentum. Trump signs order aimed at shutting down the Department of Education. Also signs order to boost critical mineral production, says rare earths deal with Ukraine soon. Trump demands courts stop blocking his agenda after a judge suggested government ignored order to block deportations. Judge gives Justice Department until Tuesday to explain its actions. Zimbabwe's Kirsty Coventry becomes first woman and an African to be elected president of the International Olympic Committee. Another red flag for global warming. Glaciers around the globe are melting faster than ever. UNESCO's recent report says last 3 years witnessed largest glacial mass loss on record. And on to the details. Russia and Ukraine will hold separate talks with US officials in Saudi Arabia on Monday. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky, during a press conference in Norway, said on Thursday that Ukrainian and US officials would meet in Saudi on Monday to make progress on a proposed halt in Russian and Ukrainian strikes on energy facilities.
At the next meeting, which will be held on Monday in Saudi Arabia, our technical teams will be there. As I understand it, the structure is that there will be a meeting between Ukraine and America, and then, as the American partner said, shuttle diplomacy, followed by America and Russia, or it will be parallel meetings in one country on one topic.
Well, Zelensky's announcement came shortly after the Kremlin confirmed that Russian officials would also hold talks with the United States in Saudi Arabia on Monday. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said the delegations are due to discuss initiatives that Putin and Trump spoke about regarding the Black Sea.
You remember that we had quite a rich experience in implementing the Black Sea initiative. We fulfilled all the conditions then, but the conditions in relation to us were never fulfilled. Therefore, of course, all this, as they say, on the shore will have to be discussed in details, and also the aspects related to the Ukrainian settlement, which the parties consider necessary to discuss.
And Zelensky further stated that all nuclear power plants in Ukraine belong to the people of Ukraine, following comments by US President Donald Trump suggesting that the United States could own and operate the country's nuclear facilities.
All nuclear power plants belong to the people of Ukraine. They are state-owned nuclear power plants. We do not have private property, energy, nuclear power in Ukraine. We have thermal generation. There is green energy. There is private partnership. There is completely private energy. This is absolutely clear and correct. But all nuclear power belongs to the state of Ukraine.
Well, President Donald Trump declared on Thursday that the United States would soon sign a deal with Ukraine for access to its rare earth minerals. Trump has been pressuring President Volodymyr Zelensky to sign economic deals to compensate the United States for its support in its conflict with Russia.
I also signed an executive order to dramatically increase production of critical minerals and rare earths. It's a big thing in this country, and as you know, we're also signing agreements in various locations to unlock rare earths and minerals and lots of other things all over the world, but in particular Ukraine. We're doing very well with regard to Ukraine and Russia, and one of the things we are doing is signing a deal very shortly with respect to rare earths with Ukraine, which they have tremendous value in rare earth.
And for more on the talks, we have Akshay Dongre joining us. Well, Akshay, given the recent statements from President Zelensky regarding Ukraine's nuclear power plants, how does this influence the broader context of the US-Ukraine relations, especially in light of what President Trump had said on energy and critical minerals?
Well, Lipakshi, if you look at the statements that are coming in from President Putin and Zelensky, they are in fact contradictory in nature as far as the nuclear power plants are concerned.
Right.
So while the U.S. president has hinted that the U.S. should own, in fact, the nuclear power plants and the operations of these nuclear power plants in Ukraine. The Ukrainian president has stated otherwise, saying that all the nuclear power plants belong to the people of Ukraine, and it is a property of state. So that essentially means that there are still several points where the two leaders do not agree as far as the rare earth minerals are concerned. Both Ukraine and Russia have in fact been seen as places where these rare earth minerals that are being eyed by the United States of America are storing. And in fact, if the deal with Ukraine does not go through, there is also potential that the US president may cut a deal with the Russian president as well, because earlier the Russian president has stated that whatever Ukraine has to offer, Russia has in much more quantity and in better quality. So from the perspective of Donald Trump, this entire conflict and the resolution of this conflict, even the ceasefire, does not seem like a halt in the conflict. It more seems like a business opportunity. So clearly, if the deal goes through between US and Ukraine, as far as the nuclear power plants are concerned or the rare earth minerals, then we can expect a better relation between the two countries and more continued support in this war effort from the US side, which has been, in fact, the major contributor in terms of aid, in terms of weapons to Ukraine in this war against Russia. But if it doesn't go through, then we can expect a very different movement from the United States of America as far as diplomacy is concerned, geopolitics of the region, and we may also see the Donald Trump administration cutting a deal with the Russian side too,
right,
which would be unprecedented in nature.
All right. Also, Akshay, what specific initiatives related to the Black Sea, especially, can we expect to be discussed during the talks between the Russian officials and the US and Saudi Arabia? And how might this influence the broader geopolitical situation?
Well, it would be too early to speculate that what can we expect on Black Sea, because there have been several sticking points when it comes to the region, especially when you take Crimea for an example. It is at the Black Sea, the Mediterranean connection, and the supply of a lot of food grains and other important trade goes through the Black Sea. However, when you look at the stance that have been there from both the Ukrainian sides or the Russian side, they have been quite conflicting in nature. So as of now, what is decided, what can be expected is too early to be said, but tensions remain. That is a fact, and ever since Russia occupied Crimea, the conflict has an origin in that particular instance when Russia said that Crimea belongs to the Russian people, and it in fact held a referendum there as well. So the sticking points between Russia and the present conflict also dates back to in fact the control of the Black Sea. So it remains to be seen what concessions Russia will be making as far as the region is concerned.
Absolutely. Also, Akshay, given the timing of the talks, if we talk about, how significant do you think the involvement of both Ukrainian and Russian officials will be in shaping the future negotiations on the conflict?
Well, it's quite important, Lipakshi. Both of the sides are two warring factions, so naturally they have to be included as far as negotiations deal is concerned. But it remains to be seen that what Donald Trump administration will be able to achieve as far as these negotiations are concerned, because they are quite, one would say, radical in nature as far as these kind of talks that have been initiated by the US administration, because engaging even with the Russian side is quite quite a unique thing that's happening as far as this war is concerned, because earlier there were negotiations happening between the US and the Ukrainian side, but this time around with involvement of Russia, it seems that all the parties that are in the conflict, including US, because it has been supporting the war effort of Ukraine, will sit and in fact hold negotiations. So there might be some sort of ceasefire, a permanent one that too,
Right.
in near future.
All right. Thank you so much, Akshay, for all those insights. And moving on, European Union leaders have once again voiced their support to Ukraine, but did not immediately endorse a call by Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky to approve a package of at least 5 billion euros for artillery purchases. EU leaders met in Brussels on Thursday and discussed the Commission's defence proposals, which include a call for European countries to pool resources on joint military projects and buy more European arms. Well, the bloc's foreign policy chief, Kaja Kallas, called on leaders to match words of support for Kyiv with deeds. While after the summit, European Council President Antonio Costa said he believed member states will increase pledges of support to Ukraine.
We decided in the conclusions to make the ramp up during the next 5 years in our own capabilities, but also to support Ukraine. All these instruments, the SAVE, more fiscal space, flexibilities on the use of cohesion funds, all of these give room to the member states to increase their support to Ukraine. Before this package, we have already a pledge of 15 billion euros from different member states.
While addressing the EU summit by video, Zelensky urged EU allies to approve a package of at least 5 billion euro for artillery purchases for Ukraine and called on continued pressure on Russia.
We need funds for artillery shells and would really appreciate Europe's support with at least 5 billion euros as soon as possible. Investments in weapons production are needed both in Ukraine and in your countries. Europe needs technological independence, including in weapons manufacturing. Everything necessary to defend the continent should be produced here in Europe.
Well, the leaders of the coalition backing Ukraine would meet again next week, hoping to finalize plans to secure a potential truce in the war with Russia. Well, French President Macron's announcement on Thursday came after latest discussions of military top brass from Coalition of the Willing in London. Macron said the meeting next Thursday will be a chance to fine-tune work on ensuring any truce is durable. British leader Keir Starmer said that plans for allied countries to safeguard a potential Ukraine ceasefire were coming together after senior military planners from nations interested in a so-called coalition of the willing met in the UK. Some 25 to 30 military leaders from countries keen to help secure any agreement to end fighting in Ukraine gathered at a military base near London. Starmer said a secure and sovereign Ukraine will need security arrangements in place to ensure that if there's a deal, it is a defended deal.
It is vitally important that we do that work because we know one thing for certain, which is a deal without anything behind it is something that Putin will breach. We know that because it's happened before, and I'm absolutely clear in my mind it will happen again. Therefore, what you're doing here today is vitally important to peace and security across Europe and for our NATO allies and, of course, crucially for the United Kingdom.
Well, Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky met Norwegian Crown Prince Haakon and Crown Princess Mette Marit during a visit to Norway. Zelensky is in the Scandinavian country for an official visit following a trip to Finland amid intensive diplomatic efforts to end the conflict with Russia. Norway is a supporter of Ukraine. On March 6th, the government said it would more than double its financial support to Kyiv this year of $8.03 billion. Norway is the only European nation that can finance increased support to Ukraine from its own coffers rather than from debt, as it is home to the world's largest sovereign wealth fund with assets of $1.8 trillion US dollars. And still to come on DD India News Hour. Israeli government dismisses Shin Bet chief Ronen Bar amid strained relations with Netanyahu. Amid controversy, Johannesburg Council rejects motion to reverse Santon Drive renaming. And clashes erupt in Turkey as protests over detention of Istanbul Mayor Ikram İmamoğlu intensify.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lepakshi Quran, and moving on, the Israeli government has dismissed Israel's domestic intelligence agency Shin Bet's chief Ronen Bar on Friday. Netanyahu last week cited an ongoing lack of trust as the reason for moving to sack Ronen Bar, who was appointed in October 2021 for a 5-year term. Bar, meant to end his tenure only next year, was appointed by the previous Israeli government that briefly forced Netanyahu from power between June 2021 and December 2022. His relations with Netanyahu were strained even before the unprecedented Hamas attack on October 7, 2023, notably over proposed judicial reforms that had split the country. Bar had already hinted that he would resign before the end of his term, taking responsibility for his agency's failure to prevent the attack. Meanwhile, the United Nations Security Council held an open meeting on Gaza as Israel resumed its bombing campaign and ground operations in the enclave. Israeli aircraft on Thursday dropped leaflets on residential neighborhoods, ordering people out of Beit Lahia and Beit Hanan towns in the north, the Shejai district in Gaza City, and towns on the eastern outskirts of the Khan Younis in the south. Then late on Thursday, Israel's military said it had begun ground operations in the Shabora district of Gaza's southernmost city Rafah, which abuts the Egyptian border. Well, a day after sending tanks into central Gaza, the Israeli military said on Thursday it had also begun conducting ground operations in the north of the densely populated enclave along the coastal route in Beit Lahia. On the other hand, Hamas too fired a barrage of rockets towards Tel Aviv in central Israel. Hamas, which had not retaliated during the first 48 hours of the renewed Israeli attack, said its fighters fired rockets into Israel. And moving on now, U.S. President Donald Trump demanded on Thursday that courts stop blocking his agenda as he was once again at odds with the judiciary. The U.S. president seems to be edging closer to a constitutional showdown after a judge suggested the administration ignored an order to block summary deputations. Trump has demanded that the Supreme Court intervene. He wrote on his social media platform warning that if Chief Justice of Supreme Court doesn't fix the situation, nation is in serious trouble. A federal judge in a strongly worded order gave the Justice Department until Tuesday to explain why it went ahead with flights to prison in El Salvador of Venezuelan migrants, some of whom say they committed no crime and were targeted only for their tattoos. Well, meanwhile, a flight carrying around 311 Venezuelan nationals returned from Mexico landed in Caracas, bringing the total of migrants recently returned to 920. Venezuelan Interior Minister Diosdado Cabello claimed the flight was a result of direct agreement with Mexico despite U.S. accusations of misinformation. Cabello also criticized the U.S. for deporting over 200 members of the Venezuelan Tren de Aragua gang to El Salvador, calling it a kidnapping and arguing they should be tried in the U.S. if they committed crimes there. Well, also, a U.S. judge ordered that an Indian researcher at a top American university not be removed from the country following his arrest and threat of expulsion for alleged Hamas ties. Badr Khan Suri is a postdoctoral fellow at Georgetown University. Suri's lawyer demanded his release and denounced the arrest as a targeted retaliatory detention. Judge of the Eastern District of Virginia Court ordered Suri shall not be removed from the United States unless and until the court issues a contrary order. And moving on, Panama's President Jose Raul Molino dismisses reports that the U.S. military is exploring options for U.S. control of the Panama Canal, calling them baseless as they came from unnamed sources. Also, the reports follow Donald Trump's claims that the canal's tolls are too high and that China controls it, which Molino rejected, emphasizing the canal is managed fairly and transparently. The canal is controlled by Panama's government, though a Hong Kong firm, C.K. Hutchison, operates 2 ports on it. Further, Molino announced a forthcoming meeting with the Panama Canal Authority head to discuss major port projects and Panama's role in trans-Pacific shipping. Earlier this month, C.K. Hutchison recently agreed to sell its Panama port assets to U.S. investment firm BlackRock. A North Korean leader, Kim Jong-un, oversaw the test firing of the country's latest anti-aircraft missile system on Thursday. The test firing showed the system was highly reliable and its combat response was advantageous. Anti-aircraft missile systems, also known as surface-to-air missile system, are ground-based or sea-based weapons designed to intercept and destroy aircraft or other missiles in the air. Seoul and Washington wrapped up their latest 11-day annual joint military drills known as Freedom Shield on Thursday. They say such exercises are defensive, but Pyongyang has long demanded a halt to U.S.-South Korea joint exercises, branding them a prelude to an invasion. Well, just a day after the president of Congo and Rwanda urged for peace, the Rwanda-supported M23 rebels pushed further into Congo, reaching the edges of Walikale town on March 19, 2025. Well, the mineral-rich area known for tin marks the rebels' deepest advance this year. The seizure of the town of around 60,000 people late on Wednesday marks the farthest west the anti-government group has advanced into the interior of the Democratic Republic of Congo since 2012. It comes just after Congolese President Felix Tshisekedi and his Rwanda counterpart Paul Kagame held surprise talks in Doha on Tuesday. But the terms of any truce are up in the air, with mediator Qatar saying further negotiations were necessary. Well, clashes broke out between police and protesters in Turkey on Thursday as thousands took to the streets over undemocratic detention of Istanbul's mayor Ekrem İmamoğlu. Protests took place in various locations across Istanbul and Ankara. İmamoğlu, President Tayyip Erdogan's main political rival, was taken in on Wednesday, facing charges of graft and aiding a terrorist group, a move that sparked an initial round of demonstrations. The move against the popular two-term mayor caps a month-long legal crackdown on opposition figures across the country, which has been criticized as a politicized attempt to hurt their electoral prospects and silence the dissent. And moving on, new Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney is set to announce a snap federal election for April 28th, according to the sources. Carney, who replaced Justin Trudeau as Liberal leader on March 9th, seeks a strong mandate during strained US-Canada relations. Well, the Liberals have rebounded in polls since January following Trudeau's resignation and US President Donald Trump's tariff threats. A former central banker with no prior political experience, Carney aims to challenge Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre. While Carney has yet to outline his tariff strategy, he emphasizes the need for stability during the turbulent period. The next election was originally due in October. And Sri Lanka's Election Commission has said that the much-delayed local government election will be held on May 6th. The poll body made the announcement after accepting nominations from political parties and independent groups. The polls to 340 local bodies were scheduled to be held in January 2023 in the aftermath of the 2022 economic crisis. The then President Ranil Wickremesinghe had declared a lack of funds to hold the elections. The new government, led by President Anurakumara Dissanayake, passed the local authority election bill last month with an overwhelming majority to hold the delayed polls and allow the Election Commission to withdraw the previous election. Well, the Johannesburg Council rejected a motion to reverse the renaming of Santon Drive to Leila Khalid Drive despite strong opposition from residents and businesses. The name change has sparked international controversy, particularly from Joel Pollack, the leading candidate for US ambassador to South Africa. DD India correspondent Nazneen Ismail gets us this report.
South Africa could lose its United States consulate in Johannesburg if the city renames Santon Drive to Leila Khalid Drive. Leila Khalid is a freedom fighter for Palestinian rights. A council vote dismissed a motion to reverse the renaming of Santon Drive to Leila Khalid Drive. Some councillors criticized the renaming process, citing issues like dubious resident support. They argued that the city should prioritize service delivery over costly name changes. They added that thousands of residents and businesses in Santon opposed the change and that it was highly controversial. However, other Johannesburg councillors supported the name change, arguing that it shows support for Palestine. The decision has drawn international backlash from Joel Pollack, the front-runner to become the United States ambassador to South Africa. He warned that this name change could have severe consequences. It will see the United States close its consulate in Johannesburg, which is located at Santon Drive in Sandhurst. He said, and I quote, "The consulate will be closed and not be reopened. It will not be moved and go to another office. The United States will not do business with Johannesburg," unquote. Pollack added in a social media post on X, which said, "Helpfully, the renaming would create another savings for the Department of Government Efficiency, close the consulate." The ANC's first Deputy Secretary General, Nomvula Mokonyane, was particularly keen on the name change.
We must, working together, ensure that campaign of the city of Johannesburg of renaming Santon Drive into Leila Khalid happens in our lifetime. It has to happen because we want the United States of America's embassy to change their letterheads. When they have their letterheads, they must say United States of America, number 1, Leila Khalid Drive in Johannesburg, in Gauteng, because we are sending a message. They cannot dominate us and tell us what to do. It must be in their face, it must be in their computers, it must be in their letterheads.
With tensions rising over the renaming of Santon Drive, questions are being raised about the future of the US consulate in Johannesburg. I'm Nazneen for DD India, Santon, South Africa.
And big news just coming in from the United Kingdom. Heathrow Airport is experiencing a significant power outage due to a fire at an electrical substation supplying the airport. The airport authorities said that the airport will be closed until 23 hours 59 on 21st March to maintain the safety of passengers and colleagues. It asked passengers to expect significant disruption over coming days and urged them not to travel to the airport under any circumstances until airport reopens. The authorities also said that whilst fire crews are responding to the incident, they do not have clarity on when power will be reliably restored. And still to come in DD India News Hour. The lower house of Indian Parliament passed the Union Budget 2025-26 under the guillotine procedure. Ruling party issues whip to its members to be present in the House. India and European Union move closer to landmark trade agreement, strengthening economic ties and collaboration. And World Audiovisual Entertainment Summit Waves organizes a young filmmakers challenge to provide a creative platform for emerging talent.
geopolitics and trade deals, economic challenges amid development, hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium, we'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Khurana. Time now for a quick recap of the headlines. Ukraine and Russia to hold separate talks with US officials in Saudi Arabia on Monday. Separate meetings to be held at the same time as diplomatic push to seek ceasefire gains momentum. Trump signs order aimed at shutting down the Department of Education, also signs order to boost critical mineral production, says rare earths deal with Ukraine soon. Trump demands courts stop blocking his agenda after a judge suggested government ignored order to block deportations. Judge gives Justice Department until Tuesday to explain its actions. Zimbabwe's Kirsty Coventry becomes first woman and an African to be elected president of the International Olympic Committee. And another red flag for global warming. Glaciers around the globe are melting faster than ever. UNESCO's recent report suggests last 3 years witnessed largest glacial mass loss on record. And both the houses of parliament continue to discuss the budgetary provisions related to various ministries. In the Lok Sabha or the lower house, apart from the question hour and 0 hour, discussions related to the Ministry of Water, Power, Minister of Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution and Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare are listed for today. Besides, the pending demands for grants in relation to the union budget will be presented for voting in the House. Along with this, Appropriation Bill 3 is also listed. While in Rajya Sabha or the upper house, apart from the question hour and 0 hour, further discussion on the working of the Ministry of Home Affairs will be taken up. Besides, the Banking Laws Amendment Bill 2024 is also listed for consideration and passing. Meanwhile, the BJP has issued a 3-line whip for all its Lok Sabha MPs, asking them to be present in the Lok Sabha on Friday for the passing of the budget. Further, Lok Sabha has announced that the Parliament will apply the guillotine in parliamentary terms. The guillotine refers to a procedure ordered by the Speaker of the lower house to pass a bill without discussion. Bills that are considered necessary for implementation but could be delayed due to opposition logjam are passed through this route. And Anil Thomas joins us for more on the Parliament. Well, Anil, with the BJP issuing a 3-line whip for its Lok Sabha MPs, what significance does this hold in terms of party discipline and the passing of the budget, especially with the application of the guillotine?
Well, good morning, Lipakshi. Well, very much on expected lines. You know, the budget discussions, time and again being disrupted by the opposition, was taking a toll. Various attempts being made by the Treasury benches to help conduct our business, especially when it comes to discussions that were taking place in both houses of parliament. Not much of headway being made. And, Thursday being totally washed out, the way opposition tried to hijack or put forward, especially coming into the well of the House time and again, and no transaction of business taking place. So clearly time is running out. So this particular rule being applied there in Parliament, so that a whip being issued so that all MPs are present in Parliament, and we can, the attempt of the government would be to see that, the budget that was presented on the 1st of February, which includes key highlights for tax reforms, increasing the income tax exemption limit to 12 lakh, restructuring tax brackets, benefiting middle class earners, all this could be put forward and the budget could be smoothly passed in the lower house. So the attempt is there by the government, because the opposition has time and again agreed when there is an all-party meeting that they are ready to, follow rules and procedures. But once they come to the floor of the House, they are finding reasons and there is not a sustained reason that you've seen across this particular second half of budget session. And remember, there is a break between budget session. The budget session is divided into two halves. The first half, where the budget is presented, which is close to 9 days, and then the second half that begins almost after 3 weeks, where there are various reports, various doubts that are there in the minds of the opposition that are cleared through the reports that the parliament presents. But all in all, I think the opposition has been adamant, especially when it comes to they having their word over what the government wants. I think the government was not ready for that, and the government has stood its ground, especially when it comes to the opposition's points. They said they are ready to listen, but the opposition seems to be in no mood to toe that or to agree to that same line. And I think the government left with not much of option but go for the rule under which this kind of this important bill like the union budget is passed even without discussions there, trying to get the parliament to pass the budget.
All right. Also, Anil, a range of discussions are happening today in both the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha. Can you tell us more on that?
Well, those discussions are continuations of discussions that have started earlier in the week. Discussions that have been, hit by speed breakers thanks to the way the opposition has acted in Parliament. There have been various issues that the opposition have tried to raise. It started off with delimitation, then it went to EPIC, then it went to farmers' protest. So they seem to be at crossroads. There is no unity that the opposition had managed to get, especially when it comes to issue that they want to corner the government or they want answers from the government. The government has not refused to answer any of the questions. The government said, let's finish the important business that's there in the house and then we look into the matter. Even when it comes to the home ministry, the discussion that was initiated on the home ministry, the discussion began on the home ministry and then the ambit widened. The home minister had to stand up in parliament and say, this is not part of the ambit of home ministry. If you want to widen the ambit of this particular discussion, we are fine with it, but then you be ready to listen to all that. I think somewhere deep down the opposition do not seem to be united on a single point where they want answers or they want time from the government. They have been raising issues under 267 which have not been accepted by the chair, and they have time and again tried to disrupt parliament through various means. The latest one where the MPs from South India, especially the DMK, yesterday decided to wear t-shirts and do sloganeering in the well of the house. So it's been a tough road, especially for the treasury benches, because if the opposition is not united on a particular point, the government or the treasury benches or the chair cannot schedule something which can be discussed, because then there is a point of argument. Yes. My point is important over your point. And I think that's where the opposition is losing steam.
Right, absolutely. Thank you so much, Anil, for all those details. And moving on, India and the European Union are moving closer to a landmark trade agreement. With negotiations gaining momentum, both sides are looking to strengthen economic ties and expand market opportunities. The recent visit of the European Commission to New Delhi highlighted key areas of collaboration, from trade and investment to digital innovation and sustainability. Let's take a closer look.
In a landmark move to strengthen economic ties, the European Commission, led by President Ursula von der Leyen, recently visited New Delhi. This unprecedented delegation underscores the deepening relationship between India and the European Union. Central to their discussions is the ambitious India-EU free trade agreement, with both sides aiming to finalize negotiations by the end of this year.
Technology, investment, innovation, green growth, security, स्किलिंग और मोबिलिटी पर सहयोग का एक ब्लूप्रिंट तैयार किया गया है। हमने अपनी टीम्स को एक पारस्परिक लाभकारी बायलैटरल फ्री ट्रेड एग्रीमेंट को, एफटीए को, इस वर्ष के अंत तक संपन्न करने का निर्देश दिया है।
Initiated in 2007 and resumed in 2022, this agreement seeks to enhance market access, remove trade barriers and boost bilateral trade. For India, the FTA promises enhanced access for textiles, pharmaceuticals and IT services to European markets. Conversely, the EU anticipates greater entry for its automobiles, machinery and luxury goods into India's consumer base.
EU-India trade agreement is very important for us. And I can tell you, while semiconductor is important for India, even automotive is important. EVs are important, and therefore it just makes sense for Europe and India to partner together for R&D, for manufacturing, for supply chain diversification, and most importantly, even for market.
This collaboration is set against the backdrop of shifting global geopolitics, where both India and the EU seek to enhance their strategic autonomy and economic resilience.
For Europe, India is a pillar of certainty in an increasingly uncertain world. Together with Prime Minister Modi, we want to upgrade the strategic partnership with the largest country and democracy in the world.
As negotiations progress, the world watches closely, anticipating a landmark agreement that could redefine economic landscapes across continents. Mark Limburg reporting from The Hague, the Netherlands, for DD India.
Well, Commonwealth Secretary-General-elect and former Foreign Affairs Minister of Ghana, Shirley Ayorkar Botchwey, arrived in New Delhi on Thursday on a two-day visit. In the evening, she met India's External Affairs Minister, Dr. S. Jaishankar, who shared India's approach to the Commonwealth, voicing the expectation that it would become more purposeful, contemporary, efficient, transparent and reflective of its members' views. Shirley Botchwey will resume office as the 7th Secretary-General of the Commonwealth on the 1st of April 2025. Well, with an objective to providing a fun and supportive platform for young filmmakers to express their creativity and originality through film, Young Filmmakers Challenge has been organized at the World Audiovisual Entertainment Summit, WAVES. Take a look.
Young Filmmakers Challenge, organized at WAVES, aims to empower children and teens to explore their imagination through short films. Young creators in two categories aged between 12 to 15 years and 16 to 19 years to dive into the world of filmmaking and unleash their creativity. It aims to foster innovation, storytelling skills, and digital literacy among young participants through a concise 60-second film format.
WAVES World Audiovisual Entertainment Summit is India's first global summit which encompasses the entire media and entertainment industry, which includes film, animation, gaming, fashion, music, design. It includes esports. It will include all other verticals which are part of the media and entertainment industry. And that's really what we will be doing. We will be showcasing our best to the world.
While speaking about the summit, Chaitanya Chinchlikar, Vice President, Whistling Woods International, emphasized three important pillars of media and entertainment industry.
WAVES has multiple parts. There's the conference where you've got the best from the world coming in and talking on the same stage and showcasing their quality. Then you have the bazaar, the market, which will give great opportunity to Indian original IP creators to pitch, as well as people who have ideas for films, for animation, for games. That's the second part. Third is the showcase, where we will be showcasing some of our best work that's done in various areas of the industry.
About Create in India challenges, he said, the WAVES will witness the best of the best, and the summit will enable intermingling of some of the best creative minds in the country.
So for any country to get genuinely global, world class at the top level, you need three things. You need government will, you need government ability, and that has been amply showcased. There is a film policy. We have a new cinematography bill. We have a new animation, visual effects, gaming, comics and XR policy, India's first national policy. We have the setting up of the IICT, the Indian Institute of Creative Technologies, which will focus on that.
The challenge will promote storytelling, build confidence in children and teens by giving them the opportunity to showcase their talent on a global stage and celebrate diversity that young filmmakers bring to the screen.
With camera person Gaurav Kagra, this is Shama Mishra for DD India, Mumbai.
And still to come on DD India News Hour. Stay tuned to know how melting glaciers affect everyday lives. Khelo India Para Games 2025 kick off with over 1,300 athletes. and acknowledging the indispensable role of forest in feeding, sustaining and nurturing our planet on the International Day of Forest.
में जितने इंडियंस हैं उतने ही इंडियाज भी. So for the record, this is my India.
This is my Andekha. Unsuna.
Unbelievable India.
This is my favorite designer wear wala India.
My Sakhat Energy Hero India.
এই হলো আমার দুর্দান্ত রোড ট্রিপের ইন্ডিয়া.
So India, join the Waves Explorer Challenge.
Show us what makes you say, for the record.
This is my India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. Lepakshi Khurana, and on to some sports news now. The international Kirsty Coventry has been elected as president of the International Olympic Committee on Thursday, securing victory in a high-stakes vote at the 144th IOC session in Costa Navorina, Greece. The Zimbabwean won in the first round of voting to clinch the race to succeed Thomas Bach, winning an immediate overall majority in the secret ballot. Coventry beat Sebastian Coe, Juan Antonio Samaranch Jr. and others in the election that had been expected to be a far closer run affair. Well, as the new IOC president, Coventry will now be tasked with steering the Olympic movement into a new era, overseeing future games. She will also address key challenges such as rising cost, geopolitical tensions and the evolving landscape of global sports governance. And Khelo India Para Games 2025 were declared open by Union Minister of Youth Affairs and Sports Dr. Mansukh Mandavia on Thursday. Over 1,300 athletes are set to take part in the second edition of the game. DD India's Abhishek Mahajan has more details on this.
Khelo India Para Games 2025 officially began with a grand opening ceremony on Thursday. Union Minister of Youth Affairs and Sports, Dr. Mansukh Mandavia, declared the games open at the Indira Gandhi International Stadium in the national capital, Delhi. Accompanied by Paralympic medalists in para sports Simran Sharma, Praveen Kumar, Nitesh Kumar, Preeti Pal and others, the sports minister participated in the torch relay.
तो हमारे मुख्य अतिथि और सम्मानित अतिथियों ने टॉर्च को कॉलड्रॉन पे रख दिया है, जो खेलो इंडिया पैरा गेम्स 2025 की आधिकारिक शुरुआत का प्रतीक भी है.
मुझे विश्वास है कि खेलो इंडिया पैरा गेम्स के द्वारा देश के पैरा एथलीट्स को खेलने की अपॉर्चुनिटी मिलेगी. उसकी टैलेंट, उसकी क्षमता आने वाले दिनों में देश और दुनिया में भारत के पैरा एथलीट्स अपना स्वयं का और देश का नाम रोशन करेंगे.
Part of Government of India's Khelo India initiative, this is the second edition of the Games, which kick-started with a glittering opening ceremony, witnessing an electrifying performance by Meet Brothers. The ceremony also displayed India's indigenous sport Mallakham. Not only this, the opening ceremony also ensured inclusion by showcasing an act curated by Divyangjans. The games will be played across three venues: Jawaharlal Nehru Stadium, IG Stadium and Dr. Karni Singh Shooting Range till March 27. It will be held in 6 disciplines: para-athletics, para-archery, para-powerlifting, para-badminton, para-table tennis and para-shooting. Over 1,300 athletes, 350 support staff and 150 volunteers are part of this edition. Following the inaugural edition in December 2023, Khelo India Para Games has emerged as a key national event for the para-athletes and has played a significant role in discovering and nurturing talent in India. With cameraman Monty Kumar Singh, this is Abhishek Mahajan in Delhi for DD India.
Well, you're watching DD India News. Our time now for some weather updates. The United Nations reported that all 19 global glacier regions lost mass in 2024 for the third year in a row, stressing that saving glaciers is now crucial for the planet's survival. The UN's World Meteorological Organization reported that last 5 years have seen the fastest glacier retreat on record, highlighting the urgent need to preserve glaciers for environmental, economic and societal survival. Well, World Meteorological Organization Chief Celeste Soalalo said over 275,000 glaciers covering 700,000 square kilometers are rapidly shrinking due to climate change, and all 19 glacier regions experienced a net mass loss for the third consecutive year in 2024. The agency further said that world's glaciers lost 450 billion tons of mass in 2024. Meanwhile, a tiny wingless insect known as the Patagonian ice dragon is fighting for survival as global warming threatens its glacier habitat. The insect, which measures just 15 millimeters in length, is one of the few creatures adapted to life in the harsh freezing conditions of the glaciers. The Patagonian dragon was first discovered in the 1950s and was believed to be extinct until its rediscovery in 2001. The insect plays a crucial role in maintaining the health of the glaciers, acting as a natural filter by feeding on organic matter, dust and bacteria. As the glaciers melt due to climate change, the Patagonian dragon's habitat is disappearing too. Well, the melting of glaciers, a direct consequence of global warming, is accelerating with dramatic consequences for lives and livelihoods. Well, the melting glaciers can trigger floods, landslides and avalanches, posing a significant threat to towns and villages. Such natural disasters can also cause disruptions to global supply chains. Glaciers provide fresh water supplies, but their disappearance will affect millions of people as it puts water resources at risk. Most river basins will reach their peak water within the century, after which water levels will decline. Rising snow lines alter biodiversity, affecting vegetation and potentially leading to significant changes in mountain ecosystems. Also, glacier retreat forces some communities to relocate and affecting hydropower generation and food security. Also, glaciers are the second largest contributor to rising sea levels, but they're expected to become the main driver in the coming decades. The global sea level has gone up by 10 centimeters since 1993, according to the NASA satellite observations. And today, on the 21st of March, we join hands to celebrate the International Day of Forest, a day established by the United Nations to recognize and protect one of our planet's most vital resources. Forests are not only home to over 60,000 tree species, but they also support 80% of the world's terrestrial biodiversity. DD India, Tapas Bhattacharya with her more inputs on this.
Today, on March 21st, we celebrate the International Day of Forest, a day established by the United Nations to recognize and protect one of our planet's most vital resources. This year's theme, Forest and Food, highlights the deep connection between forest and our food system. The forests provide fruits, nuts, spices and medicinal plants, sustaining millions of people worldwide. They are home to pollinators that help crops grow and support ecosystems that make our food production possible.
Viksit Bharat of 2047 needs to secure nutrition and livelihoods for 160 crore people. The challenge is vast and the forests are an answer. They can strengthen our food systems while making economy greener. Forests not only feed us with fruits, nuts and oilseeds, but they also keep agriculture alive by sheltering pollinators, providing fresh water and keeping soils healthy. The livelihoods of 27.5 crore Indians depend on forests. Forests are our allies. Let's help them help us.
Beyond food, forests act as a powerful carbon sink, helping combat climate change. They house 80% of world's terrestrial biodiversity and provide essential resources for billions, especially indigenous and rural communities. Today, let this celebration be a call to action. Support sustainable food choices, protect our forest, and promote reforestation efforts. Whether by joining local tree plantation initiatives or spreading awareness, every action counts. By protecting forests, we also secure the future of our food system. Let's stand with nature and work towards a greener, healthier planet, because a thriving forest means a nourished world. Tapush Bhattacharya's report, DD India.
By protecting forests, we are also securing the future of our food system. Let's stand with nature and work towards a greener, healthier planet, because a thriving forest means a nourished world. With camera person Shiv, this is Tapush Bhattacharya for DD India from Delhi.
All right, that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world in the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. Well, we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Lipakshi Khurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.